Hello, Quiz World family. Today, we'll be playing a fantastic Would You Rather game on the Quiz World channel. Our topic is Would You Rather, hardest choices ever. We often find ourselves torn between two options. So, which one would you prefer? Friends, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and like the video. Let's get started now. Which way of living do you prefer? Having a body covered in scars or having a very aged body? Which would you prefer in a business meeting? Constantly sneezing or constantly hiccuping? Which would you prefer? Being unemployed for a year or living without a phone for a year? Which would you prefer? Having restroom breaks prohibited at work or being required to work for 18 hours straight? Which would you prefer? Being late for work by 3 hours every day or arriving 3 hours early to work every day? Which would you prefer? Being stranded in the heat of the desert or enduring the cold of the polar regions? Which would you prefer? Being extremely overweight or being extremely thin and unattractive? Which would you prefer? Being 300 years old and unable to walk or being 3 years old? Which would you prefer? Landing on an island inhabited by vampires or traveling to space where aliens exist? Which would you prefer? Going without food for 3 days or eating 3 kilograms of lemons? Which would you prefer? Wetting yourself during a business meeting or wetting yourself on your wedding day? Which would you prefer? Having your best friend argue with you at your wedding or having your mother-in-law argue with you? Which would you prefer? Considering a breakup on the day you receive a marriage proposal or finding out you're being cheated on during the proposal? Which would you prefer? Having a face full of acne or suffering from never-ending diarrhea? Which would you prefer? Being subjected to disrespect or being an obsessive person? Which would you prefer? Your partner being broke and shameless or rich and disrespectful? Which would you prefer? Going to Rome for a historical trip or going to Egypt? Which would you prefer? Living in China or in Iraq for the rest of your life? Which would you prefer? Living the rest of your life in a submarine or in prison? Which would you prefer? Accidentally ruining a job interview at the last minute or getting fired by the boss during the meeting? Which would you prefer? Having previously dated your boss's wife or currently dating her? Which would you prefer? Waking up bald one morning or waking up covered in hair? Which would you prefer? Stripping naked to stop wars or donating all your wealth? Which would you prefer? Your partner's family being of very low quality or them thinking poorly of you? Which would you prefer? Having an amazing daughter or having a very sweet son? Which would you prefer? Passing gas in front of everyone or vomiting in front of everyone? Which would you prefer? Having the latest model motorcycle or having the latest model phone? Which would you prefer when going on vacation with someone? Having a female companion or having a male companion? Which would you prefer? Never drinking coffee in your life or never drinking tea? Which would you prefer? Supporting your sibling or your partner in a fight between them? Which would you prefer for everyday wear? Sports shoes or sandals? Which would you prefer? Always staying in the same country or living in a different country every month? Which would you prefer? Getting your salary in dollars for the rest of your life or getting it in gold? Which would you prefer? Being chased by a bear in the forest or getting bitten by a snake on a safari? Which would you prefer? Catching your partner stealing or catching them cheating on you? Which would you prefer? Living a lifetime in a village without electricity or living among sheep in a barn? Which would you prefer for your birthday? Creamy chocolate cake or strawberry banana cake? Which would you prefer? Living on the 45th floor of a high-rise apartment building or living on the 9th floor? Which would you prefer? Home-cooked meals or ready-made meals? Which would you prefer? Spending your summer vacation in the Maldives or in a mountain house in Scotland? Which would you prefer to lean on while sleeping? Your mother or your father? Which would you prefer to call first on a day when you're crying? Your friend or your family? Which would you prefer? Your favorite family member, your sibling, or your cousin? Which hand do you prefer to use most while eating? Your right hand or your left hand? Which would you prefer? Visiting your mother's father or your father's father? Thank you for joining Quiz World. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and like the video so that we can meet again in our next event.